your name keeps leaving their mouth uninvited, not in the deliberate, orchestrated way of someone who has decided to bring you up strategically in conversation. In the specific, involuntary way of someone whose thoughts return to you with such regularity that the returning eventually finds its way out through language without the speaker having quite made the decision to let it. You do not decide to say the name of someone who occupies that quality of space in your thinking. The name simply surfaces in contexts where it has no obvious business being. In conversations where the connection to you is not apparent until the other person in the conversation notices the pattern that the speaker cannot quite see from inside their own preoccupation. And that is what has been happening. Your name is coming up in conversations you are not part of, in contexts that do not obviously invite it, with a regularity and an intensity that has begun to communicate something that this person may not have intended to communicate and may not fully realize they are communicating, but other people are noticing, and the universe is noticing. And what is being communicated is something I want to walk you through carefully, because the specific way someone's name surfaces in another person's unprompted speech is one of the most reliable indicators of where that person actually lives in the speaker's interior. It is harder to lie with an involuntary pattern than with a deliberate statement. It is harder to manage an involuntary pattern than to manage a conversation. The truth of how much someone thinks about you tends to reveal itself most clearly not in what they say when they are paying attention to what they are saying, but in what they cannot help saying when they have briefly stopped paying that attention. What is being revealed is significant. Let me walk you through what the cards confirmed. Let me describe what I felt the moment this energy opened, because the initial impressions were specific and they matter for understanding the full picture. I felt preoccupation, the very specific quality of someone whose attention has been captured by a particular person and who has not been able to fully redirect it, regardless of how much ordinary life has been offering alternative objects of focus. The kind of preoccupation that is not enjoyable exactly, that is not the pleasant form of thinking about someone you are comfortable thinking about, but the more consuming, slightly ungovernable version that belongs to someone who is affected more deeply than they have fully acknowledged to themselves. I also felt the specific quality of not quite contained feeling, the sensation of something that is being held in and that is occasionally leaking around the edges of the container, not dramatically, but enough for people who are paying attention to notice the leaking, even when the person doing the holding is not aware of how visible the overflow is. That leak is what is making your name surface. The pressure inside the container is making it find outlets that the person who is containing it did not quite authorize. The first card in this reading arrived in the position representing what is actually happening inside this person, the interior state that is driving the pattern your name is making in the conversations around you, and I want to describe it with the care it deserves. This card shows two cups extended toward each other, the specific imagery of something deeply real between two people, of genuine recognition at the level where the actual interior worlds of two people make contact rather than simply the surfaces they present. This is one of the most significant cards in the suit governing feeling, representing not a surface attraction or a passing interest, but a quality of genuine resonance that has established itself at a level below the social and the managed and the chosen, in the specific register of what is simply true between two people. what I am reading in this card about what is happening inside this person in relation to you is something I want to name specifically. What they feel for you is real. I want to be precise about real in this context because real here means not performed or strategically generated or the result of a conclusion they have talked themselves into. Real in the sense of having established itself independently of their choosing it, of having arrived through the specific mechanism of genuine encounter with who you actually are, of having remained present through subsequent time and subsequent experience without dimming or resolving into something more comfortable and manageable. I also want to speak to what the water element of this card tells me about the quality of what is being carried. The cups govern the interior life, the genuine feeling world, the emotional experience in its most authentic form. What is being carried about you is in that register. This is not primarily intellectual interest or social attraction or the strategic warmth of someone who has identified you as useful to know. This is something that lives in the emotional body, in the part of a person that does not fully respond to reason or strategy, that simply feels what it feels regardless of what the mind has concluded about the situation. The second card arrived in the position representing why your name keeps surfacing, the specific mechanism by which what is being held inside is finding its way into external expression, and this card illuminates something I find genuinely interesting. This card shows a figure whose mind has become cluttered with unprocessed experience, with swords arranged in the imagery of a mind that is too full of unresolved things to rest clearly or move cleanly. This is the card of someone who has not been able to fully set something down, who keeps picking it back up in the privacy of their own thinking and putting it down again and picking it up again in the specific, slightly exhausting pattern of someone who is trying to work through something they do not quite have the full information or the full permission to work through. What I am reading in this card about why your name keeps surfacing is something I want to name with care. This person has not resolved what they carry about you. The specific quality of the unresolved is what makes it keep appearing in speech. Resolved things settle. They find a place in the interior and they stay there, available to be retrieved when needed, but not pressing to be expressed. Unresolved things circulate. They keep rising to the surface because the interior work of fully processing them has not completed. And what keeps them from completing, what keeps this person from arriving at any settled relationship to what they carry about you, is that the thing they are carrying is not something that can be fully resolved in private. It needs to be brought to you, and until it is, it will keep finding its way to the surface in the sideways, uninvited, pattern-making way that is, in its own paradoxical fashion, a kind of continuous communication to the universe about where their attention actually lives. I also want to speak to something about what the pattern reveals to the people who are observing it, the people in the conversations where your name keeps surfacing, because I think their role in this is worth naming. They are the unintended witnesses of someone's uncontained interior. And witnesses of this specific kind tend to form impressions. They tend to notice the pattern before the person making it does. They tend to say things to each other or eventually to the person who keeps surfacing the name about what the pattern looks like from the outside, which means the involuntary communication is not only moving in the direction of the universe, it is in specific and practical ways moving in the direction of you. The people who are noticing are people who might say something to you directly or to you through someone else. Your name coming up is not only revealing something about this person's interior, It is creating a chain of awareness that is progressively shortening the distance between what they carry and your knowing of it. Does this feel like it is mapping onto something you have been picking up on, Virgo? The sense of your name coming up in ways that suggest you are taking up more space in someone's thinking than they have been directly expressing? Let me know in the comments. The third card arrived in the position representing what specifically is being communicated by the pattern of your name coming up, what the involuntary, uninvited quality of it is actually saying about this person's interior. And this is the card that I think will produce the most recognition. This card shows a figure emerging from water into a new clarity, holding a sword toward a clear sky. The imagery of someone who has passed through something and arrived at a specific, clean, undeniable quality of knowing. This card belongs to the suit of the mind and of truth, and this emerging quality speaks to something that has cleared, to understanding that has finally surfaced after a period of being underneath, to a conclusion that has crystallized past the point of being negotiable. What I am reading in this card about what the pattern of your name is communicating is something I want to say directly. This person has reached a conclusion about you, not announced it, not acted on it, not brought it anywhere near you yet, but internally, in the private space of their own processing, something has crystallized that is clearer and more certain than what existed before. The clarity is what makes the name keep surfacing. Clarity that has not been expressed tends to express itself through exactly this kind of pattern, through the involuntary signals of someone whose interior has arrived somewhere that their external behavior has not yet caught up to. I also want to speak to what the emergence quality of this card tells me about the direction of what is happening. This is not a card of someone going deeper into something difficult. It is a card of someone coming through something, of clarity, arriving in the aftermath of a period of processing, of the specific quality of knowing that exists after rather than during the muddiest period of working something out. What this person has been working out is what they feel about you and what they want to do about it. And they have worked it out. The sword is raised. The sky is clear. The conclusion has been reached. Inhale with me, Virgo. Because the fourth card is the one that speaks to something I think you need to hear about what this involuntary pattern actually means for you specifically. This card shows a figure carrying cups up a hillside in fog, oriented upward towards something they can feel but cannot yet fully see, with the quality of someone who is moving toward something with a quality of dedication that exists independently of whether the destination is yet clearly visible. The water element of this suit points toward feeling and genuine interior orientation. And what I am reading in this card, in the position of what this pattern means for you, is something I want to say carefully. Your name coming up involuntarily is a form of approach, not yet the direct approach of someone who has made the decision to come to you and is executing it. The specific preliminary approach of someone who is being pulled by what they carry, whose interior orientation toward you is so strong and so consistent that it is beginning to express itself before the deliberate decision to express it has been fully made. The cups in this card, the feeling quality, the genuine interior experience is already moving in your direction, even when the feet have not yet started walking. I also want to speak to something about the fog in this card, because I think it is telling This person is moving towards something they cannot yet fully see clearly, not because what they feel is unclear, but because the path, the specific mechanism of how to close the distance between where they are and where you are, is not yet fully visible to them. The fog is not in the feeling, the fog is in the figuring out. And the involuntary surfacing of your name in their speech is the feeling, doing what feeling does when the figuring out is still in process. It moves toward its object through whatever channels are available. I want to address something specific about how Virgo tends to receive this kind of information, because I think the specific quality of your mind creates a particular challenge with patterns like the one this reading is describing. When you learn that your name has been coming up in contexts that suggest someone's preoccupation with you, the immediate Virgo response is to begin triangulating to gather whatever additional data points are available, to run the pattern against your existing understanding of this person's behavior and look for the places where what you are learning fits or does not fit your prior assessment, to be, in other words, appropriately cautious about a conclusion that depends significantly on indirect evidence. That caution is not wrong. It is one of the things that has served you well across your life, and it will serve you in this situation too. What I want to offer alongside the caution is this: the specific quality of involuntary pattern, the fact that what you are learning about is not something this person strategically produced, but something that leaked around the edges of their management, is itself a form of evidence that tends to be more reliable rather than less. People can manage what they deliberately say. They cannot as easily manage what they involuntarily do. The pattern is not the evidence of a presentation. It is the evidence of a reality that the presentation has been attempting to contain. Let the caution operate, and also let the pattern be what it is. The fifth card arrived in the position of what this pattern is building toward, where the involuntary communication of someone's interior is moving in the actual material, visible landscape of your life, and I want to describe it plainly. This card shows a figure at the full height of their element's expression, standing in the embodied, settled, completely inhabited quality of someone who has arrived at a genuine and established position rather than still being in the process of reaching one. And what I am sensing in this card about where this is building toward is something I want to name specifically and without unnecessary complication. This person is coming to you, not immediately, not without the period of figuring it out that the fog in the previous card describes as still in process, but with the specific directional, already in motion quality of someone whose interior has already arrived at the destination, even if their external behavior has not caught up. The crystallized conclusion I described in the third card and the directional movement I described in the fourth card are both pointing toward the same thing, which is an eventual, genuine, direct approach from someone whose name has been preceding them through the conversations around you. I also want to speak to something about the quality of what is coming when it arrives. The court figure in this card is not someone who approaches things tentatively or who hedges or who offers a partial version of what they are carrying in order to see how it is received before committing to the full version. What is coming is the full version. The clarity that arrived after the processing, the certainty that exists on the other side of the fog, the direct quality of someone whose interior has already been so fully occupied by what they are carrying that when they finally bring it to you, there is nothing left to hold back. I want to speak to something about the timing of when this full version arrives, because I think naming it clearly is more useful than leaving it vague. The involuntary pattern of your name surfacing is not a stable state. It is a symptom of pressure that is building, and pressure that continues to build tends toward release in the same way that everything in nature moves toward its equilibrium. The pattern of your name coming up is not going to continue indefinitely at its current level of intensity without eventually producing the thing the pressure is building toward. What that thing looks like, whether it is a direct conversation or a message or a situation that brings you into direct contact in a way that the accumulated interior work finally has to be addressed, I cannot say with complete specificity, but the direction of it is what I can say clearly. It is toward you. It is coming from someone who has been in every conversation that has produced your name uninvited, essentially practicing for the conversation they have not yet had directly with you. Before I close, I want to say something about your name and what it means that it keeps surfacing uninvited. Your name is a very small sound in the world. It takes less than a second to say, and yet the way it has been appearing in this person's speech without authorization, without being part of a deliberate script, in the specific involuntary way of something that the interior keeps pushing to the surface, because the interior simply has no other outlet for what it is carrying, suggests that your name has become attached to something very large in this person's experience. It is pulling weight. It does not seem like it should be able to pull. It is carrying something that it keeps needing to express. That something is you. The specific, real, fully dimensional fact of you in this person's interior experience. Not the idea of you or the social presence of you or the professional interaction version of you. The actual interior experience of encountering who you actually are, having that encounter do something significant in them, and carrying the significance of it in the specific way that significant things get carried when they have not yet found the form of expression they require. Your name is the outlet until the full expression arrives, and the full expression is on its way. If this reading described something that has been operating in the energy around you, the specific quality of your name appearing in contexts that suggest it has a larger gravitational field in someone's thinking than you have been directly shown, please share it with a Virgo who might be noticing the same kind of involuntary pattern and who needs to hear what it actually means. And leave a comment. I want to hear what this reading brought forward for you, and whether the person whose name keeps surfacing beside yours has a face you recognize. I read every single comment, and I hold what is shared in this space with genuine care long after this video ends. Until next time, Virgo, your name keeps leaving their mouth uninvited. And the invitation it is really extending is the one they have not yet found the words to make directly. It is coming. Your name is already pointing the way.